What is up, everybody? What's happening? It's your boy Marcus Washington, and you're on the mark where we talk everything Falcons football. Man, how are y'all doing on this cloudy ass, what's today, Wednesday? Following all this Falcons news has got me losing track of time, fam, and track of days. Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and compress it inside of 40 minutes. Again, Atlanta is still interviewing people. They interviewed Bobby Slowick, and they requested a second interview. To my knowledge, I think he's interviewed with the Commanders as well. I don't like the very impressed. We've heard that before. Tennessee has already hired Brian Callahan. So how they found their coach and they ain't interviewed 13 or 14 coaches, I don't know. This is beginning to be exhaustive. And I say that because I get, hold on, what in the world is this? I get that you want to do your due diligence. I understand that. I get that. And to my knowledge, Atlanta has interviewed 14 candidates. That's basically all of them, minus one or two. I'm seeing things about John Harbaugh probably being off the table. We talked about how his team they had pretty much said Friday they ain't wasting no time. So I'm seeing things about how the conversation has cooled down on Bill Belichick. So it looks like the Atlanta Falcons are about to pull a Falcon. But this is what happens when your GM doesn't have the authority to hire the coach. The fact that they've interviewed everybody kind of tells me something. It's one or two things. Either they've zeroed in on their coach already and they're just doing this dog and pony show, or they actually don't know what the fuck they want. And we talked about identity and we talked about culture a couple videos back. And one guy is gatekeeping this team. Because we're not hearing rumors about Arthur Blank clashing heads with anybody. One guy is gatekeeping this team. So you got two guys that have actually won something. One looks like he's about to gear up to go to the Chargers. I'm seeing reports about how it's in striking distance. Jim Harbaugh's potential staff with the Chargers. And now the conversations have cooled down with one of the greatest coaches of all time. But we talking Bobby Slowick had a strong interview. Huh? Fam, let me tell you something. Go ahead and get Bobby Slowick if you want to. This is what I mean by Atlanta not learning their lesson. This is exactly what you can't even throw resumes out at this point. Bobby Slowick doesn't have a strong enough resume to match the top two candidates. But he had a very strong interview. What the fuck does that even mean? And this is this is what I mean by green. Guys, this man, offensive, bruh, he was with the 49ers 6 seasons. Offensive passing game coordinator. He got the OC job in 2020. Bruh, how does he have the pedigree? How? We don't even have a quarterback. So the offensive passing game coordinator with no quarterback. I mean, Atlanta keep falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Just a week ago, people were fiending for Ben Johnson, who again doesn't really have a deep resume. But the two things that I see with Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick, they can be controlled. It'll be their first stop as a head coach. You interview Jim Harbaugh. Now the rumbling is getting bigger about him going to the Chargers. How you let him walk out the door? Personality. He's actually won something. You can't control him. And Bill Belichick, you know what the deal is. So either all this is a ruse and they've wanted Bill Belichick the whole time, and they're just interviewing all these. But I just, fam, I'm telling you, whatever, if they don't go with Belichick or try to steal Jim Harbaugh or maybe Pete Carroll, and they get one of these offensive minded coordinators once again, they better win. Because people will remember this offseason. But I'm like, is this what it would take to get Rich McKay out of here? One more of these coordinators turn head coaches. What's going on? Hold on. I just saw Alberto says, Mark, what's good? I think we just not being patient. I think they're waiting to complete the package of contract. Here, you could be right. But here's my issue with that. Usually, when you got your guy, you fulfill the Rooney Rule. Usually, when you got your guy, you stop interviewing everybody. 36 minutes ago or 51 minutes ago. Actually, hold on. Let me make sure I get this right. It could all be a ruse. I don't know. You could be absolutely right. But they want to have an in-person second interview with Bobby Slowick on Thursday. That's not a Rooney Rule situation. So if you already got your guy in tow, why are we still interviewing people? If Bill is your guy, right? If Bill is your guy, you just interviewed Bobby Slowick. Why are you asking for a second interview? Why are we hearing things about he had a very strong interview? Guys, I'm out on these coordinators. But we're seeing a clear pattern if that happens. If they announce Bobby Slowick, people are high on him. I'm like, how could you be high on him? The guy really hasn't even had a good sample size. So how could you be high on a guy? Same with Ben Johnson. These are small sampling size. How are you high on these guys over guys that have won something? Atlanta doesn't learn their lesson, and some fans don't either. All we've hired in the last 20 years are coordinators. But it could be a ruse. I don't know. It could be. I just think it even if it's a ruse and Bill Belichick is your guy the whole time, all this shit, this don't even make sense. This is the front office playing games if Bill Belichick is the guy all along. This isn't due diligence. This is them playing games. Because you've already kind of done your due diligence. And for some of these guys, they had to wait until the divisional round to do in-person interviews. I get that. However, they could have obligated the Rooney Rule last week. Because you had minority coaches that were not under contract that you could have just bought in for in-person interviews. So there's some stuff up in the air whether you have to interview one or two minority head coaches to fulfill the Rooney Rule. The NFL's website has one, but then you got people saying that you have to interview two. So last week I said, there was some people talking about it wouldn't be till February till Atlanta hired a head coach. And I was like, that's absolutely crazy. But you know what? I have to take that back. It might be March. What's going on, Smitty? He says, Mark, you want to apply? I'll be president and you run the GM. And you the GM. Man, we would have had our coach by now if I was the GM. I mean, it don't really take as long to find your guy. And trust me, I'm not hiring a head coach, but I've been in a position to hire folks. When the resume walks in the door and I see a guy that's got 24 years experience on the job, decorated resume. He's been in one place for 24 years. Perfect guy for the job. The job doesn't require heavy manual labor. And then I get a guy who comes in that just started in the industry really last year in a position to call shots. In the real world, no. I'm not calling Bobby Slowick in for a second interview. What's going on? The Dixon Way. Larry says Bill isn't the guy anymore due to the dinner with Rich McKay on Thursday, and then on Friday have a virtual second meeting while in the city. This is incompetence, not due diligence. I wrote the blog. Go check out Larry and the Dixon Way, man. Smitty too. Smitty Sports Machine. Y'all already know about these guys, but check both of them out, fam. But I just at this point, if they go with one of these guys, I'm a ride. That's just I'm about logo business. I'm telling you, I'm not personally gonna be happy with a Bobby Slowick hire. I'm not. We're right back where we were 3 years ago. We have no idea what this team gonna look like. None. We don't know what the roster gonna look like. And then here's the thing. You let Ryan Nielsen walk. So not only do you not get a Hall of Fame coach, a coach in Jim Harbaugh who can, everywhere he goes, he wins, but then you just gave up one of your best people on your staff. This is why I'm like, I'm praying. I am praying this is just a ruse. They just had a laundry list of people they wanted to interview. And they're going through that laundry list. Once they exhaust that laundry list, then they're gonna hire Bill Belichick. That's what I hope. Because you let Jim walk. One guy is gatekeeping his team, man. And matter of fact, let me put this guy on the screen, fam. I'm just, as a fan, and people tell you, hey, listen, Falcons fans have to be patient. They have to be patient. If these interviews were like spread out, again, we should know something by this weekend. This shouldn't triculate into next month. You've talked to 14 different guys, whether it was in person or whether it was via video conference. You have talked to 14 15 people. You bought Bill Belichick in twice in person. One with Arthur Blank, and then you fly him in here Thursday. According to Larry, there's a dinner that goes wrong because this guy is in the way. But we've been told, hey, he's not in charge of football operations. That's what we've been told, fam. He's not in charge of any of this stuff. He's not. He's on the golf side of things. This is what we've been told about this guy. This guy on the screen that's been here forever. We've been told that he does not have any say over day-to-day operations in football. Then, he let that fly out of his mouth. No, I am. In that debacle of a press conference. If he wasn't in charge of football operations, my question is, why was he even at the press conference? Wouldn't your GM be there if Rich McKay has nothing to do with football operations? Why is he there? But my bigger problem is this is Arthur Blank's team, not his. But this guy, from what I'm seeing, because even if this is a big ruse, this is still incompetence. Why are you even playing around like this? If Bill's your guy, you don't play these games. Look at how Tennessee hired their coach. Wasn't a lot of drama. They fire Mike Vrabel. They have a couple of people that they talk to. And then just lo and behold, I wake up, I'm like, damn, Tennessee got a coach? Okay, Tennessee. Smitty says pro days, Senior Bowl, and Combine are soon. Better get together. Yeah, before you know it, this stuff gonna be coming right around the corner. And they gotta get their coach in before they get their quarterback in. So I'm at this point, fam, and everybody's grasping at straws now because they have found a way to literally I don't know. So of course, there are going to be people that say, hey, got to be patient. They got to interview everybody. Problem is they've already interviewed everybody. So now we're talking second interviews. They just interviewed Bobby Slowick. I think let me make sure I'm accurate in when they so this was yesterday. According to Sports Illustrated, Falcons very impressed by Texans Bobby Slowick. Second coach interview. This a Rich McKay guy, man. Let's be a thou out. This is a Rich McKay guy. This is my job is safe. If this guy pans out, if this guy does not pan out, none of the blame is going to go my way. We'll fire the GM if things go wrong. Are they going to fire me? But at what point does this become about the well-being of the team? At what point does Arthur Blank just say, hey, listen, Rich, I'm going to go with who I want to go with. Because I'm hearing reports. Matter of fact, let me pull it up. That damn near the whole front office is trying to buck the system. Hold on, let me pull this up. Okay. Now this comes from Sports Illustrated. I'm just going to read. I'm going to put this up. I'll go into the article, but I'm just going to put this up. This is the first thing that comes up. And I didn't even have to put what team it was. I just had to put front office. So it says basically Arthur Blank wants to hire Bill Belichick, and all the front office people in Atlanta don't want to hire Bill Belichick because it's like any big company. Sports franchises are like microcosms of all big companies, Bill Simmons says on his podcast. So, Belichick has been the de facto general manager of the Patriots since 2000. So if he were to flock to the Falcons, he likely would have a major say in personnel decisions, something the front office wouldn't exactly be fond of. Who in the front office wouldn't be fond of that? Because remember, Arthur Blank stays out of the way. He doesn't shop for the groceries. And again, we were told that Rich McKay doesn't have a say in day-to-day operations until that Monday. And we saw Terry Fontenot get his wings clipped at that same press conference. So Terry's the one that has issue? Okay. You bring in Belichick. You think Belichick's going to listen to McKay, to John McKay's kid or general manager Terry Fontenot. However, the front office pushback could very well be real, and it remains to be seen whether they will win this battle or if Blank pushes his own agenda over the executives. Here's my bigger issue. Blank, this your team. Hire who you want to hire. McKay's hires, because these are what these guys are. Dan Quinn, Arthur Smith, Mike Smith to a certain degree. These McKay hires. Y'all want to know what the commonality is? These guys were head coaches nowhere else. Controllable guys. No power. But I'm waking up hearing Bobby Slowick very impressed in the same sentence. That's disheartening to me. I'm just going to be honest. Now, if they hire Bobby Slowick, it is what it is. But when I tell you I'm going into the season with literally no expectations, none. I'm not going to be down on the guy. I'm going to give the guy a shot. Because I gave every other coach that walked in here a shot. I gave every quarterback that came through here a shot. So I'm going to give him a shot until otherwise noted. But if you hire this guy and we don't win a championship, people going to look back on this offseason. You had an opportunity to get a Hall of Fame coach. You had an opportunity to get a guy that just came off a natty. And you had a chance to go over there and talk to Pete Carroll, who's won a title, which I haven't heard Atlanta say anything about Pete Carroll. It's obvious that the guy still wants to coach. So I'm puzzled. Now again, we could be here Friday and they say, you know what? Atlanta Falcons have hired Bill Belichick. He was their guy this whole time. I'm still gonna look at what happened this week. Is if that's the case, why are y'all playing around? Why are y'all playing around? Tennessee didn't play around. The Chargers, to my knowledge, let me look at how many people the Chargers have interviewed. All right, so I'm on the Chargers wire. Chargers to interview 4 to 6 head coaching candidates in second round of interviews. So they got some Rooney Rule guys in here. All right, so we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. Harbaugh makes 5. So it's going to be interesting how they play. I'm only counting 6. Okay, the news ahead of when the Chargers finish their first round of interviews on Saturday with Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, and Raheem Morris. That's 3. Then Harbaugh, that makes 4. Okay, so it looks like it's 6. But I don't, you know, again, this is just me personally. If you hire 14 guys and you have not zeroed in on a guy that you really want, man, I'm telling you, fam, this is weird. But I do feel like the Bill Belichick, situation, I think that does have a level of truth to it. But that's, as a fan, that's disheartening because it's no longer about what's best for the team. It's what's best for Rich McKay. And Arthur Blank is allowing this. And he has allowed this for years. Terry says, Blank is too attached to McKay. I don't see Blank getting rid of him for no one. I hope I'm wrong, though, but we won't go nowhere with McKay down low. It seems like McKay is the shadow owner of this team. Think about it. He's like a silent partner that we see. They tell us what his title is, but we're not really clear on what Rich McKay is doing. So it's like he handles the business side. He has no parts in the football side. And we just brought him back on the football side this year, but he doesn't really have any say so over personnel. Then come Monday morning, Monday afternoon, after we got mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Oh yeah, I do. I do have a say in day-to-day operation. Wait, what? So it's like it's hard to put blame on the guy when you haven't even pinpointed exactly what he does. This man has been avoiding accountability for a decade plus now. And everybody else has gotten blamed. Mike Smith got blamed, got up out of here. Dan Quinn got blamed, got up out of here. All our OCs, all our DCs got blamed, got up out of here. Arthur Smith gets blamed, gets up out of here. Desmond Ridder gets blamed, gets benched. The only guy who hasn't got blamed for this team's decline is Rich McKay, who was sitting there at that press conference as a shadow owner. They say he's the CEO. This guy is a shadow owner because he can control the actual owner. When you're seeing somebody say Arthur Blank wants one guy, but the front office, which is Rich McKay, they got a problem with that. Fam, I'm sorry. Don't nobody tell me what to do in my house. This my house. I pay the bills. The responsibility weighs on me if something goes wrong up in here. Ain't nobody about to come up in here and tell me they got a problem with what I do in my house. The title that you got, I gave it to you. This my team. And if I want to go another way, I'm going to do that. If you have a problem with that, I'll expect your resignation in the morning. Because you can be replaced. I got to do something crazy for me to sell my team. I can get you up out of here tomorrow. So I don't know, man. I don't know. So we'll see, man. I still think by this weekend, I still think by this weekend Atlanta will announce who their head coach is going to be. Because I don't think I've ever heard of a third interview. I'm just going to be honest. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever heard of a third interview. Hold on. Let me see if that's ever happened. Yeah, nah. Second, I'm seeing Dan Quinn, but that's 3 different. He's got 3 in-person interviews for 3 different teams. So, but yeah. So you got. Let's do this. Let's go see who Atlanta has scheduled to come in by Friday. Because you only got 2 games on Sunday, and then it's the bye week. It used to be the Pro Bowl in there, but now it's just essentially a bye week and then the Super Bowl. So to my understanding, you can sit down. I think a guy like Ben Johnson can have an in-person during that bye week. So I just don't see it going that far. But I mean, nobody, I'll say this. Nobody knows what's going on in the front office. Nobody, in the beginning, you had 3 guys that they should have been zeroing in on. They brought one guy in, and then they brought him in again. Then they brought Jim Harbaugh in. Then they requested a second interview with him. And then you got your Rooney Rule guys that they did a virtual conference with. Then you brought Raheem Morris in. So again, I don't understand. Is the Rooney Rule met with just Raheem Morris? Because on the NFL site, it just says you have to do one. You have to do one in-person interview. That's what the NFL's website says. So I don't know. But all right, this is 2 days ago. All right. The Falcons have interviewed 13 candidates for their head coach vacancy. Actually, it's 14 now. Let's see. What do they have lined up here? Because the one we know of for sure is Bobby Slowick, which is tomorrow. All right, Falcons. He ain't lying about that. Falcons owner Arthur Blank said the Falcons will be thorough and patient, finding the right individual for the head coaching job, with the aim of getting the hire right and setting the franchise up for a period of sustained success. There's no timetable, Blank said. The only timetable is to do this correctly. All right, so Raheem Morris's initial interview was Saturday, January 20th. His second was Tuesday, January 23rd. You have Aaron Glenn, who they interviewed on Friday the 19th. There's no second interview slated. Ben Johnson was Sunday, January 21st. There's no, well, I mean, of course, there's no in person because they're going to the championship game, so they wouldn't be able to do a in person until after Sunday. Bobby Slowick, his first interview date was Sunday, January 21st. He's gonna have a second interview tomorrow. Brian Callahan. I think Brian Callahan is the one that's officially off the table now, so we'll skip past him. Anthony Weaver. So his interview date was January 14th. Report January 22nd. Falcons requested a second interview with him, so don't know what day that's gonna be. Mike McDonald. Didn't I hear something about Mike McDonald? But they interviewed him January 12th. Ajiro Evero was January 14th. A report on the 21st says the Falcons have requested a second interview with him. Joe Brady, January 20th. Nothing. Bill Belichick, as we all know, initial interview was the 15th, and the second interview was Friday the 19th. Haven't heard anything about him. Mike Vrabel, they requested, but we haven't gotten that yet. Jim Harbaugh was Tuesday, January 16th. Falcons are scheduling a second interview with Jim Harbaugh. I think that's supposed to take place this week sometime too. Brian Johnson, interview date Thursday, January 18th. They don't have anything. And then, Antonio Pierce got his gig. Steve Wilkes, January 13th. He's getting a second interview with another team. I saw that this morning. I forgot what team it is, but there's your tracker right there. Yeah, that's okay. Anthony says Brian Callahan got hired officially today by the Titans. Okay, cool. So people might ask me, well, Mark, what do you make of it? At this point, fam, I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea. I have no idea. I do think that there's an issue, and there's been an issue. Let's just be real though. There's been an issue in that front office for a while, and we didn't know the scope of the front office situation until that press conference. We didn't realize the scope. I think most of us wanted Rich McKay up out of here because he was the last Mohican. He's like the last guy. And your franchise is falling off a cliff, and it's like, how is this guy still keeping? What does he do? What does he do? He's like Tommy from Martin. He's got a job, but you don't know exactly what this man does. But a lot of that got exposed at that press conference when it's just Arthur Blank and Rich McKay. And Rich McKay is talking like he's a shadow owner. And people are asking him, where's Terry Fontenot? Because what Rich McKay was doing that day, that's what a GM does. And we've seen in situations where the owner don't even talk when someone gets fired. It's the GM that gets up there. Owner don't even talk. So it's been an issue in this front office for a minute. I think now it's leaning more to, I think more people are going to be pissed off about this head coaching game. I don't think a lot of people are going to be too enthusiastic about a 1 year or 2 year offensive coordinator getting a head coaching job. And the reason being is we've been down this road before. If it was something new, maybe, but that's the only road we've known in the Blank era. And here's the bad part. He's let guys walk out the door that he could have promoted from within. Oh, he's had good talent here as far as coaching goes. So he has no problem hiring an OC or DC to head coach unless it's from his own team. So I don't know, fam. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I have no idea at this point. I do expect them to announce their coach this week. Because if this starts trickling into the middle of next week, this is gonna make absolutely no sense. Because again, you've interviewed everybody. So, they'll tell us, hey, we need to stay patient, man. Atlanta ain't been patient the last couple hires. Millie says, Markey had great talent here. Yeah. So I think with Bill Belichick, I think those reports might have a lot of truth to it. There is a power struggle there. And Bill's expectation is probably, I don't want to answer to a guy y'all claim don't have power on the day-to-day. Why I got to answer? And there were a lot of things that were said in that presser, and these coaches listen to this stuff too. So if Bill's looking at this and he's hearing the guy say that he talks to the general manager and the head coach 25 times a week, That's a red flag. Because my next question is going to be, how are you talking to these guys 25 times a week? Is it just because y'all are in close proximity? What if we on the road? We ain't nowhere near Flowery Branch. What if we on the road? You still talking to each one of us? That's 50 conversations. What is a guy that doesn't have his hand in day-to-day operations doing talking to the GM and the head coach 25 times a piece? So Bill probably went into that like, yeah, I'm not talking to you 25 times. This is a guy that came off of, he's been the GM since 2000. I'm not talking to nobody, no 25 doggone. I've actually won chips. You slipped into something. I actually won as the GM and the head coach. But I thought when he said that, I'm like, what? And he said it like it was common. Man, I'll tell you a story. When you've been doing something for so long, you have no problem, and you think it's normal. You have no problem telling somebody else because you don't think there's nothing wrong with that. So, my father, a while ago, was married to this woman. She was super nice, almost scary nice. Have y'all ever met somebody that was just too nice, like serial killer nice? Like they're nice, but you like the minute you turn your back, they might slit your damn throat. That type of nice, right? Anyway, so she had a son, and he was raised by his mom, right? No father figure in sight. So one Christmas, I decided to spend over there with my pops. Full house. It was me. His cousins had came down to visit him. I think they were from Chicago. At full house. Anyway, so we all sitting in the living room, and he's like, "I'm gonna go take a shower." Now I was at this time. I'm thinking I'm like 17, just turning 18, and he was like 14, going on 15, right? So everybody in the living room ain't really paying it no attention. This man came out of the bathroom with the towel wrapped over his chest like a woman does. The first thing I thought to myself was, where did he find that big of a towel? Everybody looked at him like he was crazy. And he came in there like, what? That was normal to him. To all us sitting out in the living room, including the chicks that were there too. We thought that I've never seen that before or after. That's not normal. Just like your CEO. Just like it's not normal for him to talk to the head coach and the GM separately 25 times a week. Atlanta says, hopefully Harbaugh comes in for a second interview and leaves as our coach. Today's Wednesday. Um, Now I had heard, since last week that Harbaugh and his team will have their mind made up on Friday. Because he's got options. So I don't, again, the only time I've heard very impressed was by this guy Slowick. When they announced that they interviewed Jim Harbaugh, wasn't nothing sexy behind that. Bill Belichick twice, wasn't nothing. You know what? The Falcons are all in on both. Nothing. But all roads lead to the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. We talked about that, early last week. There was some holdout because of them calling him back for a second interview, and it's like, okay, you got an opportunity to get both these guys. But I'll end it with this. So one of my friends hit me up yesterday and said, "Hey, what if, just what if, they don't actually want this job? What if Bill Belichick doesn't want this job? What if Jim Harbaugh doesn't want this job?" And I thought to myself, Jim Harbaugh, yeah. But Bill, no. Because Bill hasn't interviewed anywhere else. Now, he was like, well, just hear me out, though. Because you remember Tom Brady, there were only 2 teams interested in him. And, man, if I'm lying, I'm flying. I had a conversation with somebody I used to know back in those days, when Tom Brady was still on the roster and there were rumors and rumblings about him possibly being out in New England. I told this guy, the best place for Tom Brady is Tampa Bay. If I am lying, I am flying. Because I looked at the roster, I'm like, he's already got a receiver. He's got 2 of them. They got a pretty good defense. South pretty weak. And then he comes and he brings Gronkowski. They bring Antonio Brown. Fournette comes down there, and then the rest is history. All you need is, fam, you don't need a lot of suitors. All you need is one. Larry says, I think Bill wanted the job at first until the Thursday dinner with Rich McKay. Probably turned him off. I was watching Get Up and they said the Falcons should trade for Dak. What say you, Mark? That's a definite no. that's a definite no. Not saying that Dak is a bad quarterback. Man had an MVP season. I'm looking at that contract. And it's a couple of things that have happened with Dak, over the last couple of years when the lights get bright. First off, Dallas has an issue beating teams over 500. And that's with the talent they already have. And we saw Dak kind of fold like laundry in that first half of that game against Green Bay. Threw 2 picks. Threw a pick 6, which he clearly stared down the receiver. It was a play designed to break CeeDee Lamb open. They've done it before, but that's credit to the defense. The defense snuffed that one out. But for me, you only need one. You only need one person or one team to say, "Come here, let's ride." So, in closing, I'll give you this story. This is a true story. It actually happened. And this is what I mean by you don't need a whole lot of suitors. Ben Johnson, whole lot of suitors. Bobby Slowick, whole lot of suitors. All these hot offensive coordinators. It's like this every year. It'll be like this next year. We'll be back here next year, and there will be some hot shot, one-time coordinator who's being scouted by everybody, right? So there was this woman, and woman that went through a divorce, bad divorce. She was basically on welfare, right? All her life was just in shambles. So while she was sitting in her one-bedroom apartment, she decided, I'm gonna write a book. So she wrote this book, finished the book, and said, man, you know what? This is a pretty damn good book. So she sent it to everybody. Everybody turned it down. All the big publishers turned it down, said, no, we're not interested. But there was one publisher, small one, said, you know what? We actually like this book. We really, really like this book. So they decided to work with this woman. Book becomes an international bestseller. It became so big from the suburbs of Seattle to the jungles in the Amazon. People knew what this book was about. This book became a series of books. The series of books became billion-dollar movies. The book I'm speaking on is Harry Potter. The author I'm speaking of is J.K. Rowling, who's now a billionaire. So this just goes to show you don't need 100 people eyeballing you. If you actually got the talent, all you need is one. And what I'm seeing Atlanta do right now, which again, I'm not knocking them interviewing everybody. I want people I want to make this clear. I'm not knocking the process. What I'm knocking is the guy that's essentially in charge of this process. Because again, we've heard nothing about Terry Fontenot. You can't hire them all. But I do know that if you hire Bobby Slowick, it's a Rich McKay hire. Has nothing to do with Terry Fontenot. Doesn't really have nothing to do with Arthur Blank. It's a Rich McKay. I co-sign this guy because I think he's good. His credentials aren't really that heavy, but look at what happened to the Texans this year. He'll take out the fact that they hit a home run with C.J. Stroud. They hit a home run with Tank Dell when he was healthy. They'll miss that. Or Ben Johnson. But they'll miss out on the fact that Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl before. That St. Brown has been a stud before. But these guys fit the Rich McKay pattern. I can bring these guys in here and I can still control this team with no accountability. The only guy that's really talked about Rich McKay in the media is Mike Florio. You want to talk about outside of the local media? That's the only person that has talked about Rich McKay's zero accountability for the failure of this franchise. So if you see one of those guys get hired, just know that's a Rich McKay hire. Now, if they announce that, I'll get on here. We'll still do the StreamYard and everything. But I'm going to tell you, fam, my expectations going into next year, even with the roster that we got, I'm going to have to see something. It's going to extend past the preseason, which is really where I kind of gauge where we are as a team. It's going to extend past the draft, past free agency, past the preseason. It's going to go into like 5 or 6 games in the season. Now, could they hire a guy like Slowick, a guy like Ben Johnson, and they take us to the promised land? Yeah, it could happen. I don't rule anything out. And I'm one of those guys where, hey, when things happen with this franchise, let's ride. My initial disgust, if any, it only lasts for about an hour or so. And then it's like, all right, let's go ahead and get our quarterback. Let's go ahead and get the free agency, see what we can pick up. Then we'll be on to, draft. And then by the beginning of the season, your boy gonna be revved up, ready to rock. But in the back of my head, I'ma know that's a Rich McKay hire. And Rich McKay is going to avoid accountability if the coach doesn't work out. And that's the bigger problem that I have with this situation. So we'll see, fam. We'll see. But I expect that if they do go this way, Bill Belichick will end up, one or two things will happen for him. And I think both are pretty decent. He'll probably sit this year out. Like a lot of these coaches have done. They'll sit out a year and then, pop back up the next season. I think Bill Belichick actually would be a good analyst. I know people are like, nah. I'm like, when he's not really in a space where he's talking about his football team, Bill Belichick low-key funny and talkative, which is weird. But I think for me, that's the situation I think he should go to. I don't think he should take a job like Carolina. But who knows? This whole thing might be a ruse, and all us content creators are making videos trying to see what's going on. And then they might come back on Friday and say, hey, listen, we're going with Bill Belichick. If that happens, that's going to be Arthur Blank usurping authority. A lot of this could be, fam, Arthur Blank stuck on his guy. And he says, I want Bill Belichick. And Rich McKay being like, okay, well, let me interview these other candidates. And if, who knows? It could be that way too. Nobody knows for absolute certain because we're not in these damn interviews. We're not in the front office, so we don't know. But, when rumors kind of come out like this and there's already a history of Rich McKay interfering, yeah. But anyhow, fam, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here, man. Y'all have an awesome day. Shout out to Smitty. Shout out to Larry from the Dixon Way, Berto and them guys, Uncle Steve, Bird Gang, Bird Cage, Bird Talk with Terrence Mathis, AFN and them guys. Shout out to every Falcon content creator, man. We're all trying to figure out what the hell is going on right now. We're all trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So we won't know until we know. But I do have a funny feeling this thing is going to come to a head by the weekend. I just have a funny feeling. Because after next week, I honestly, what do you have? You've interviewed everybody. So with that being said, I'm up out of here, man. We will get back on here if news breaks. But until then, peace.